5 days after the Civil War's conclusion, in 1865, the film opens in Washington, D.C. Puzzle specialists Thomas Gates and his son Charles Carroll Gates were contacted by John Wilkes Booth and Michael O'Loughlin. In his journal, John writes a code that contains the mysterious information, "Rid the debt that all men pay." John urges Thomas to decipher this code. Shortly after, while he waits for Thomas to finish solving the clue, Michael encourages John to fulfill his primary objective. Following Michael's advice, John goes to Ford's Theater where he reveals his plot to kill President Lincoln. Everyone is shocked to learn of the shooting, including Thomas, who discovers the guys in front of him are traitors. Additionally, he surmises that the diary's riddle is a treasure map. He rips the letter up and attempts to burn it so the treasure doesn't end up in the wrong hands. Sadly, John finds out about his scheme, seizes the last piece of paper, and murders him. The descendants of Thomas Gates may still recall the event years later. Thomas' great-grandson, Ben Gates, shares the tale of his father's valor in foiling the traitors and securing information on the hidden wealth. Ben's account is abruptly called into question, however, by Mitch Wilkinson, who asserts that Thomas Gates and John Wilkes Booth were in fact conspirators. The remaining pages from John's journal are used by Mitch as proof. Startled, Ben asks Mitch to look at the historical artifact. A museum confirms that the object fits, but further investigation is needed to determine its genuineness. Ben and his father Patrick find themselves unable to quit thinking about the narrative after their visit with Mitch. Patrick recalls the specifics, but Mitch's compelling evidence casts doubt on their lineage. The Gates family's reputation may be damaged by this plot. Ben promises to clean his family's reputation, driven by his determination to demonstrate that the journal's contents represent a treasure map. Ben doesn't waste any time in seeing his buddy Riley, who writes a history book and has conspiracy beliefs about American history. Riley's life, however, is not going well. His valuable Ferrari has been seized by the authorities for unpaid taxes, and his book isn't selling. After their separation, Ben's ex-girlfriend Abigail changed the password, so he begs Riley to assist him open his home door. Since Abigail is the director of document preservation, Ben must get her work identification in order to view John's journal. Abigail follows Ben back into the home before he can escape and captures him. Trapped, he tells her about his issue and requests that she go with the artifact. She reluctantly accepts as he says he would give her an antique. At first, the study turns up nothing, but as she looks more closely, she discovers hints concealed on the paper's reverse side. The next day, Abigail's co-workers at the museum are going to make an announcement about the finding of this artifact that links Ben's great-grandfather to the killing of President Lincoln. Mitch uses the Wilkinson family's journal entries as proof to publicly declare that Thomas Gates was the mastermind behind Lincoln's killing, which confirms Abigail's suspicions. When this information reaches the FBI, Ben's pal agent Peter Sadusky finds it hard to believe. He orders a background inquiry on Mitch since he believes the man is acting suspiciously. After a few days, the FBI learns Mitch is an antiquities merchant and hired soldier. Peter becomes even more skeptical as a result, wondering why Mitch chose to donate the historical artifact to the museum rather than selling it for a high price to a rich collector. Peter believes Mitch has his sights set on something more worthwhile than cash. Ben asks Riley to use a unique program to decode certain hidden hints he discovers in the journal. Riley was first unable to make any sense out of the few hints, but Ben finds out after talking to his father that the clue really says Liberty Lady, which is a reference to the French artist who designed the Statue of Liberty. They come to understand that there are 3 statues of liberty in the globe, with the Statue of Liberty in Paris being the one referenced in the clue. Ben and Riley take off for Paris the next day. They scour the Statue of Liberty for hints using a tiny remote-controlled aircraft equipped with a camera. When patrolling cops see their actions, they are almost banished. Riley discovers a letter on the statue, but Ben is able to divert the attention of the police. This message points them in the direction of a hint about Queen Victoria, mentioning one of the Resolute desks, which is housed at Buckingham Palace. They leave without delay and go to England. In the meanwhile, Ben's father is attacked by Mitch and his men in an attempt to clone his mobile phone so they can intercept any details Ben offers. Ben and Riley parted ways in England in order to get into the Queen's office covertly and look for clues on the Resolute desk. Riley uses the CCTV to keep an eye on Ben while he's on his assignment. Abigail appears out of the blue to provide a hand. In an attempt to divert attention, she makes a scene that ends up landing her and Ben in jail. They make up in the holding room and use the dumbwaiter to go out. Riley leads them to the Queen's office, where they uncover a secret code hidden on the desk. After figuring out the puzzle, Ben pulls out a wooden board with many symbols. Security guards discover their escape at that same moment. Riley sets off a fake alarm, which lets them leave the castle without incident. They consider the meanings of the plank outside the palace, but quickly discover Mitch and his men are pursuing them. They run away and Mitch's goons come after them. Ben uses a speed camera to capture a picture of the plank during the pursuit since his phone is broken. Then, in order to prevent Mitch's men from pursuing them anymore, he tosses the plank into the river. He then returns to his father's home to interpret the hint. Sadly, Patrick acknowledges that he is not qualified to interpret it, but he does know someone who is: Emily, Ben's mother, with whom he hasn't talked in over 30 years, but who agrees at his son's request. They meet Emily, a University of Maryland instructor, the next day. She's chilly at first, but after hearing the justification, she decides to assist. She solves a portion of the clue, but she discovers that the directions are lacking. Since the Resolute desks were constructed in pairs, they had to locate the White House's hay desk, the opposite desk. Ben and Abigail go to the White House for an Easter celebration without wasting any time. Meets Connor, a White House employee who develops feelings for Abigail. After first objecting, Connor grants them in after Abigail poses as interested in seeing the president's office. Since the president's office is closed to the public, Connor warns them. Distracted inside, Ben hastily looks over the desk and finds the clue-containing board gone. He tells Riley about the missing board as they depart from the White House. Riley takes them back to the entries in the secret presidential book, which alludes to a conspiracy idea that a book containing different secrets, possibly including details about the hay desk and the secret code, was handed down from one president to the next. Regretfully, the location of the book is only known to the president. Ben comes up with a daring scheme to abduct the president after realizing he has no links to the president. He plans to use a covert tunnel to the Vernon Hotel to aid his goal of luring the president there for his impending birthday party. Ben's scheme is made possible when Riley and Patrick reserve every hotel in Washington, D.C. the next day, forcing the president's event to take place at the Vernon Hotel. Ben meets the president that evening. The president recognizes him as a member of the Gates family. Ben displays a map that indicates a hidden tunnel nearby since he knows the president adores George Washington. The president, intrigued, orders his security to remain outside and follows Ben down the tunnel. Ben traps both himself and the president once he's inside. As Ben inquires about the purported secret presidential book, the president listens in shock. The president is first hesitant, but after seeing how serious Ben is and being comforted by his escape strategy, he divulges the location of the book in the Library of Congress as well as the code needed to locate it. The president tells Ben before he leaves that he will not be able to publicly defend him should the mission fail. Riley, Ben, and Abigail make their way to the library. Knowing her way around, Abigail guides them to the bookcase holding the hidden volume. Ben discovers a secret code, but at first, it is invisible. The book appears when the code is entered, proving the rumors to be true. Ben discovers fresh hints about the hay desk inside. In an attempt to escape being discovered, he and his pals hastily depart as the FBI begins looking for him. Ben eventually joins them outdoors safely after Abigail avoids being captured. As everything is going on, Mitch discovers Ben's latest hint and threatens Emily, Ben's mother, to decipher the code. Emily is hesitant to comply but gives in under pressure and lies about the hint since she thinks Mitch is a treasure seeker. Mitch takes Emily to Mount Rushmore the next day because he thinks it may contain the wealth. When Mitch notices that Ben and his buddies arrive early, he threatens Emily. Ben implies that Mitch will get caught as well and threatens to turn him into a cooperator by saying the cops are hunting him. Ben presses Mitch to provide the next clue in a rough region. Ben interprets the hint, concluding they must sprinkle water on the rocks, after learning Mitch had made Emily translate it. A bird sign marks the entry, which Abigail discovers. Ben sets off a secret mechanism that collapses a cliff and exposes a secret entryway. As soon as they go inside, the entrance closes behind them, trapping them. They've been separated from Ben's parents and are stuck in a dangerous floor trap. As they cautiously balance, Abigail spots a nearby ladder. Ben climbs last, followed by Mitch, Riley, then Abigail. Even though Mitch had already departed, he comes back to aid Ben and saves him. Next, they come onto a big reservoir chamber. They have to reduce the water level in order to find a fallen clue, which they find concealed underwater while searching. They eventually locate what they are looking for, Cibola, a Native American city built entirely of gold, by following the hint from the reservoir. Ben's parents also show up to the location in the meanwhile. Ben's great-grandfather, Thomas Gates, is shown to be innocent by the finding. At last, Mitch owns up to his mistakes and issues an apology for disparaging Thomas Gates. In order to claim Wilkinson as the discoverer of Cibola, Mitch had deceived Ben into looking for the wealth. Their happiness is short-lived, however, as they had to leave as away as the property begins to flood. Patrick thinks they are going to escape as he sees water pouring down. But when they try to get out, the flood becomes stronger, and someone has to hold the door open. Ben gives his life to let the others to escape, and Mitch was crushed by a falling stone as he tries to hold the door. Ben follows Mitch's instructions to give the Wilkinson family credit for discovering Cibola before he passes away. They manage to finally exit the cave. Ben is detained on suspicion of abducting the president, but he is cleared when the president testifies that Ben protected him when the tunnel unintentionally closed. Afterwards, Ben, his group, and Mitch are credited with the finding of Cibola. After his record is cleansed, Thomas Gates is praised as a hero. After the water is drained, Patrick and Emily examine Cibola with much curiosity. Abigail and Ben mend their connection. The president gives Riley back his Ferrari and asks Ben to figure out something that's mysteriously written on page 47 of Riley's journal.